Welcome back to Mission of the Chosen. Today we unlock why money slips away, what it really means spiritually, and how to turn every loss into direction, discipline, and divine provision. Let's begin with identity, because identity always precedes destiny. If you don't know who you are in the spirit, you'll misread everything that's happening around you, especially your finances. You were never designed to blend in or chase a life that looks normal. There's a mark on your life, and it keeps pulling you out of the crowd, even on the days you wish you could be invisible. People feel it. Some are drawn in by it. Others resist it, not because you've done anything wrong, but because your presence stirs something they're not ready to confront. That spiritual identity touches everything: your emotions, your relationships, your mental stamina, and yes, your money. When your path is set apart, your money story won't copy anyone else's template. Perhaps you've noticed, just when you think you've secured a little margin, something shakes the ground: an unexpected bill, a necessary repair, a person in need, a turn you didn't anticipate. It feels personal, and in a way, it island, not as punishment, but as precision. Heaven is training your reflexes so your security rests in God, not in numbers on a screen. Think of your encounters, those moments a dream carried a message, a phrase landed like thunder, or you sensed a presence that redirected your steps. Those weren't random. They were divine signals reminding you that your life runs on instruction, not impulse. The world often relates to money as possession. You're learning to relate to it as assignment. That's why, for you, money is less mine and more stewardship. You're being shaped to manage what flows through your hands, not cling to what sits in your hands. This is also why you feel the friction of spiritual warfare most clearly in your finances. The enemy isn't merely after your budget, he's after your focus. If he can harass your resources, he can distract your calling. So he pushes unnecessary expenses, drains disguised as obligations, and delays that test your patience. In the natural, it reads like bad luck. In the spirit, it's targeted interference. Yet even this resistance becomes training. You learn to discern needs from noise, purpose from pressure, assignment from attachment. Hear this with clarity. A shaken account is not a shaken identity. Your value isn't indexed to cash flow. God will, in love, keep you from being mastered by money. Some of you have even dreamt of empty wallets, coins slipping through fingers, or giving resources away without return. Those dreams weren't doom. They were instruction. They taught detachment, generosity with discernment, and trust beyond what you could calculate. They were heaven's way of moving your heart from "how do I hold more" to "how do I obey more." So stop comparing timelines. Stop measuring peace by someone else's savings. Your story isn't theirs. You are being refined into a vessel that won't crack under weight later. Losses that once triggered panic will, with practice, trigger prayer. Instead of "why me?" you begin to ask, "what are you teaching me here?" That shift, seeing the natural through a spiritual lens, is where authority lives. Consider another angle. Provision is not only paycheck. Provision is also timing, protection, and redirection. There are times God prevents an opportunity that would have paid, because it would have cost you more than it gave. There are doors that looked secure but closed, and only later did you realize they would have locked you into a season your soul couldn't survive. In the moment, it felt like subtraction. In reality, it was insulation. Stewardship, then, is not stinginess. It's alignment. It's the courage to tell your money where it must serve your mission, not the other way around. It's establishing boundaries with draining patterns and learning to say no when heaven hasn't said give. It's listening for the nudge before the swipe, the instruction before the investment. Remember, obedience multiplies, impulse leaks. Now, about compassion. Many with a sensitive spirit give quickly, sometimes faster than they think. That tenderness is beautiful, but tenderness without wisdom becomes a pipeline for loss. Ask for discernment. Is this generosity an assignment or a trap? Divine giving carries peace and direction. Manipulative giving carries pressure and confusion. Learn the difference. When your giving follows instruction, heaven records it as seed, not leakage. If you trace your recent financial wobble, you'll often find a spiritual lesson attached. Patience under delay, humility after a misstep, vigilance after a warning dream you ignored, or courage to release what you were never meant to carry into the next season. In each case, the goal is the same: freedom. Freedom from fear, from control, from the illusion that stability equals safety. Real safety is obedience. Real stability is trust. So what do you do when money feels like water? First, slow down. Pause the panic. Ask, what assignment is on this dollar? Second, protect your gates. The voices you listen to will script the choices you live out. Third, track the patterns. Does loss repeat at the same milestones? Patterns reveal either discipline you need or warfare you must confront. Fourth, remember your source. Jobs and systems are channels. God is the fountain. When one channel narrows, He can open another you haven't even imagined. Finally, breathe. You are not falling apart, you're being fitted together. The pressure you feel today is shaping the character you'll need when the weight of purpose rests on your life tomorrow. Identity first, then destiny. With identity clear, you won't misread the signals. You'll stop clinging to what was only meant to pass through, and you'll start living with open hands, ready to receive, ready to release, ready to respond. Chosen one, let me ask you something. Why is it that every time you finally get money in your hands, it seems to disappear faster than anyone else around you? Why do doors close just when you thought you were secure? This message is not for everyone. If you are not God's chosen one, if you have never felt the weight of a divine message stirring your soul, you may stop watching right now. But if you know deep down that you are different, that you are set apart, then this word has reached you at the perfect time. Chosen ones, understand your financial battles are not ordinary. They are spiritual. The reason you lose money faster than others is tied to your prophetic dreams, your spiritual encounters, your angelic visitations. Every loss, every sudden shift in your finances carries a hidden divine message. God is shaping you, refining you, preparing you for a purpose far greater than wealth itself. This video is a spiritual encounter meant to awaken your understanding. Comment below 777 or 444 if you feel this word is speaking directly to you. And don't forget, chosen one, subscribe to the channel, tap the bell icon, and share this video so others walking the same path can receive this divine message too. Your time has come, and what I'm about to reveal will change how you see every dollar, every loss, and every blessing. You've probably noticed how quickly money passes through your life. It comes in, but before you can hold on to it, it slips away. At first glance, you might blame yourself. Maybe you think you're just bad at saving, or perhaps you assume you're unlucky. But chosen ones, your story is not about mismanagement or bad fortune. There is something much deeper unfolding beneath the surface, and until you see it clearly, you'll keep mistaking divine training for random disappointment. Money in your life doesn't operate the way it does for others. While most people can build a sense of stability with careful planning, your resources often seem to dissolve at the very moment you feel secure. This is not coincidence. It is a reflection of your spiritual identity and the kind of path you are being shaped to walk. Where others are allowed to depend on systems and savings, you are taught to depend on God. That means your relationship with money is never just financial, it's always spiritual. Think back to the times you tried so hard to hold on. You created budgets, made sacrifices, did everything right, and still, emergencies came out of nowhere. A sudden bill, an urgent need, a door closing when you thought it was about to open wider. These disruptions were not simply accidents, they were lessons. Each time you lost money, heaven was pulling your attention away from numbers and back to trust. God was saying, look at me, not at what you're holding. It may feel unfair, but it is actually protection. If you were allowed to cling too tightly to money, you might begin to worship the stability it brings. And God, in His mercy, won't let idols rise in your life. He will allow your finances to be shaken, not because He wants you to suffer, but because He wants you to remain free. Free from fear, free from obsession, free from the illusion that numbers in a bank can secure your soul. Of course, not every leak is directly from God. The enemy also studies you. He knows your destiny requires resources, and so he launches attacks in the place you feel it most, your finances. That's why emergencies always seem to happen at the exact wrong time. That's why just when you are on the edge of breakthrough, something expensive shows up and drains you. It's not random, it's warfare. The enemy is desperate to keep your focus on survival so you won't lift your eyes toward destiny. But don't miss the deeper truth. Every time the enemy attacks, God allows it only because there is something He wants to strengthen in you. That means your losses, though painful, are never wasted. They train your spirit. They sharpen your discernment. They teach you to separate genuine need from draining distraction. They show you who belongs in your circle and who is only there to take advantage of your compassion. Every attack carries revelation if you pay attention, and compassion itself is a huge part of your story. You give more freely than most people around you. When someone is in need, your heart moves quickly. You've given even when you didn't have enough for yourself. And though the world calls this foolishness, heaven calls it record-keeping. Every selfless gift is noted. Angels mark it down. What you lose through generosity is never lost in God's economy, it's transformed. You may feel empty for a season, but restoration is guaranteed because God never ignores a heart that obeys His prompting to give. Still, people misunderstand you. Family members might say you're careless. Friends might say you're unstable. They only see what is natural, but you live under what is spiritual. They cannot understand why your journey looks different, and so they criticize what they cannot explain. But your rhythm isn't theirs. What they call instability, heaven calls training. What they call loss, heaven calls alignment. And what they call foolishness, heaven calls faith. Chosen ones, you must stop comparing. If you look at how others build wealth and try to follow their pattern, you'll only frustrate yourself. Your life is not governed by their rules. Your path is not built on their foundations. The way God is shaping you may require more release than retention, more faith than formula. That doesn't mean you're doomed to a life of lack. It means you're being trained for abundance that you can actually handle without losing yourself. Because the truth is, before God trusts you with much, He will test you with loss. Before He fills your hands, He will see how you respond when your hands are empty. Will you still trust Him? Will you still obey? Will you still walk with peace when money is thin? These are the tests that shape maturity. Anyone can worship when the account is full, but only the chosen can lift their hands when the account is dry and still say, God, you are my source. Every loss you've faced has a hidden assignment. It has been shaping your heart for what's ahead. One day, the wealth you steward will not just be for you, it will be for assignments that carry eternal value. It will be for causes, for people, for work that only a chosen vessel can handle. If God allowed you to cling tightly now, you would never be ready for the flow He wants to send later. The leakage you feel today is preparation for stewardship tomorrow. So the next time money disappears faster than you thought it would, pause before you panic. Ask yourself, what is heaven teaching me here? Maybe it's teaching you patience. Maybe it's teaching you detachment. Maybe it's exposing people in your life who don't belong in your inner circle. Or maybe it's simply strengthening your trust in ways comfort never could. Every leak carries meaning. Every loss carries wisdom. And restoration always comes. It doesn't always come in the way you expect, but it comes. Some of you have already seen it, moments where unexpected provision arrived, where opportunities opened without explanation, where blessings came through doors you didn't even knock on. That's not luck. That's the rhythm of heaven's economy. When you lose in obedience, you gain in abundance. So take courage. What leaves your hand quickly is not gone forever. It's seed being planted in unseen soil. It will rise again, multiplied. Your task is not to fear the loss, but to recognize the lesson. Once you shift from panic to discernment, you will see that nothing has been wasted. And here's the closing thought I want you to hold tonight. Financial leakage in your life is not evidence of failure, it is evidence of refinement. The very instability that frustrates you today is shaping you into someone who will be trusted with more than you can now imagine. So instead of asking, why me? Start asking, what is being built in me? Because the truth is, chosen one, what slips away today is only making room for what cannot be taken from you tomorrow. There comes a time when you realize that your dreams are not just the random flickers of a tired mind. For chosen ones, dreams often carry messages clearer, sharper, and heavier than most people will ever understand. They don't simply entertain your imagination, they forecast battles, they reveal dangers, and sometimes they announce blessings that haven't yet arrived. And when it comes to money, your dreams speak louder than you think. Have you ever dreamt of holding a wallet that suddenly turned empty? Have you seen coins falling through your hands, or bills slipping out of your pockets without explanation? Maybe you've stood at a table once filled with food, only to find it bare. To many, these would feel like strange or unsettling images, but to you, these are not accidents. These are prophetic warnings. They are signals that something is happening in the spirit long before it shows up in the natural. You see, Financial struggles don't begin the moment your account dips. They often begin in the unseen realm, and your dreams are the previews. God speaks ahead of time because He is merciful. He doesn't want you to walk into traps blind. He plants warnings in your sleep, trying to prepare you, but too often those dreams are brushed off as meaningless. How many times have you woken up disturbed by a dream of loss, only to dismiss it, and then days later, watch that same kind of loss play out in your life? If only you had paid attention, you might have approached the situation differently. But dreams don't only bring warnings of loss, they also carry assignments. Sometimes you'll see yourself giving money away in dreams, handing resources to people you don't recognize, or pouring out what you thought you needed for yourself. At first, it feels like another form of lack, but in reality, these are glimpses of your destiny. You are being trained to understand that money will pass through your hands as a vessel of generosity. God is preparing you to carry wealth, but not as an owner, as a steward. And before He can trust you to release in waking life, He trains your spirit to release in your sleep. There are also dreams where people appear, faces you know and faces you don't. Sometimes they demand resources, sometimes they take without asking, and other times they leave you drained in the dream and in real life. Don't ignore these images. They are often direct revelations about who, in your waking life, is pulling from you in ways they shouldn't. Chosen ones often carry compassion so deep it can be exploited. Dreams expose what your natural eyes may refuse to see. If someone drains you in your dream, pay attention. It may be a signal to create boundaries in reality. And then, there are the dreams of restoration, the ones that feel different. You may walk into a room filled with treasure, or be handed gold by an angelic figure, or see yourself stepping into a vault filled with abundance. These are not fantasies. These are promises. They are confirmations that loss will not be your final chapter. Heaven uses these encounters to remind you that what feels unstable now will one day be steady. What disappears now will be replaced in greater measure. The truth is, dreams are heaven's calculator. Where the world uses balance sheets and budgets, you are handed visions. Where others forecast their future with graphs and charts, you are given symbols, signs, and warnings. And if you treat them as sacred, they will become your guide. But if you dismiss them, you'll find yourself walking unprepared into storms that could have been avoided. That's why keeping a record matters. A journal, even a simple notebook, becomes a spiritual map. Each time you wake, write down what you saw, even if it feels small or confusing. Over time, patterns emerge. You'll notice that before financial losses, similar dreams show up. You'll see repeated warnings about the same kinds of people or situations. And when you recognize these patterns, you'll step into wisdom others never access. You'll avoid unnecessary losses because you saw them coming. You'll recognize assignments for generosity because they were already shown to you. You'll move with a kind of foresight that only the chosen carry. And while others will call it strange, you will know it is guidance. Heaven has never left you alone. Every visitation, every dream, every whisper was given so you would not stumble in the dark. The problem is not the absence of messages, it is the absence of attention. And when you begin to give attention to your dreams, you'll realize that much of the frustration you felt in finances was avoidable. Chosen ones live under a covenant of revelation. That means your money is not just about what you earn, but about what you discern. A poor man with discernment is safer than a rich man with blindness, because the poor man can avoid traps that the rich man walks into. And you, chosen one, though you may feel the sting of leakage today, carry discernment that can shape tomorrow. So never again say, "It was just a dream." There is no such thing as just when heaven speaks. Treat each dream as a message, a letter from God Himself. Pray over it, ask for wisdom. Seek interpretation, let it inform your decisions. Because while others spend their lives reacting to financial loss, you will already be walking in preparation. And here's the truth that should steady you right now. No dream of loss ends without a promise of restoration. If you've seen emptiness in your sleep, pay close attention, because fullness is already on the horizon. If you've seen yourself pouring out, understand this: God always refills the vessel that obeys. And if you've seen treasures, gold, or abundance in your dreams, hold on to that promise like an anchor. It means your story will not end in lack. Let me leave you with this tonight. Your dreams are not fiction. They are not accidents. They are not nonsense. They are instructions. And if you honor them, You will find yourself walking with foresight while others walk in confusion. You will find yourself protected when others are blindsided. You will see doors opening while others wonder why theirs remain closed, because you listened when heaven spoke in the night. Chosen ones, the world counts their riches while they are awake, but you are given yours in the night first. Pay attention, because the blueprint for your financial destiny may already be written in the very dreams you once ignored. Your life is not ordinary, and neither are the encounters that shape it. Where others see coincidences, you recognize divine order. Where others brush things off as chance, you sense that heaven is moving pieces behind the scenes. For chosen ones, nothing is ever random. Every season, every loss, every unexpected provision is part of a larger pattern that is guiding you toward a destiny much bigger than what money alone could ever buy. When you look back, you'll notice that the moments of greatest change in your finances often came after unusual encounters. Maybe it was a prophetic word that stirred your heart at just the right moment. Maybe it was a sudden dream that carried weight so heavy it followed you all day. Or maybe it was an encounter with a stranger who said something small but unforgettable, something that shifted the way you saw your situation. These weren't random events. They were markers, reminders that your financial story is not shaped only by effort or intellect, it is being written by encounters with the divine. Money for you is never simply about income and expenses. It is always tied to lessons, correction, and preparation. Sometimes God allows you to lose, so you learn dependence. Other times He delays provision so you can grow in patience. And then there are moments when He allows sudden, unexpected blessings to remind you that heaven has not forgotten your needs. These are not just financial events. They are encounters designed to change the way you think, the way you respond, and ultimately, the way you trust. Think back to those times when you felt the inner nudge not to make a financial decision, but you ignored it. Maybe you went forward anyway, and later the loss confirmed that you should have listened. That was an encounter with divine correction. God was teaching you to hear His voice above the noise of your desires. Painful as it was, it built wisdom. And wisdom is a form of wealth that no thief can steal. Other encounters were gentler. Maybe you were at the end of your rope, ready to give up, when someone stepped in to help without even knowing your situation. A meal showed up, a bill was unexpectedly covered, a door opened just in time. These were not coincidences, they were divine reminders that heaven sees you. That even in seasons of emptiness, you are not abandoned. But chosen one, encounters are not always comfortable. There are times when you are shown attacks in your sleep, dreams of theft, of loss, of emptiness. These moments are not punishments, they are warnings. God allows you to see the spiritual battle so that you will rise in prayer, so you will guard your resources not only with wisdom, but with faith. Because finances are not just managed in the physical, they are protected in the spiritual. This is why your journey cannot be explained through numbers alone. Others may calculate their way to success, but your life is shaped by a different kind of mathematics. For you, obedience multiplies. For you, disobedience costs more than dollars. For you, alignment opens doors that hard work alone could never reach. Your encounters with the divine are your compass, and every time you ignore them, you drift. Every time you heed them, you are pulled back into alignment with your true purpose. And here's the part that many overlook. Encounters don't just prepare you for survival, they prepare you for stewardship. When God entrusts resources into your life, it is never just for you. It's for assignments, for causes, for people who need what only your obedience can release. That's why He trains you so thoroughly in seasons of lack, because one day, what flows into your hands will flow through your hands. You are not meant to be a container that hoards, but a vessel that releases. And only encounters with the divine can prepare you for that kind of responsibility. So when you experience a sudden loss, don't only ask, "Why me?" Ask instead, "What encounter am I walking through right now?" Is this a lesson in patience, a warning of an attack, a test of stewardship, a call to trust more deeply? Each experience carries an encounter hidden within it, and chosen ones are called to interpret those encounters rather than ignore them. There are also encounters of abundance, seasons where provision seems to appear from nowhere, times when bonuses come unexpectedly, opportunities fall into your lap, or someone blesses you without you asking. These moments remind you that obedience is never wasted. They confirm that every tear, every act of faith, every painful release was seen. They whisper, restoration is real. And when you hold those moments close, they strengthen you for the next season of testing. The truth is, chosen one, you cannot escape these encounters. They will follow you throughout your life. Some will be small, some will be overwhelming, but all of them will shape your financial destiny. Because your story is not written by numbers, it's written by encounters. Encounters that burn away fear, encounters that strip away pride, encounters that prepare you for a future where you will be trusted with resources that carry eternal weight. And maybe right now you're in the middle of one. Maybe you're watching money slip through your fingers and it feels like failure. But what if it's an encounter? What if it's a fire designed to purify your attachments, not destroy your hope? What if heaven is saying, trust me here, because what I'm building in you is greater than what you think you've lost? Every chosen one will walk through fire, and in that fire, wealth will be redefined. It will no longer mean stability in numbers, it will mean maturity and trust. It will no longer mean what you hold, it will mean who holds you. And when you emerge from the encounter, you'll realize that what you thought was loss was actually preparation. So don't despise the encounters, don't dismiss them, lean into them, because they are not interruptions to your financial story, they are the very fabric of it. What you call instability, heaven calls instruction. What you call loss, heaven calls alignment. The fire that burns away your security today is the same fire that forges your strength for tomorrow. Let the encounters shape you, because one day, when abundance flows into your life, you will know exactly how to carry it without fear, without pride, and without forgetting who gave it. There is a discipline God places on the lives of those He sets apart, and it's one that often feels like the hardest to accept: the discipline of letting go. The world around you screams, hold tightly, secure what you can, never release what you've gained. But your journey takes you in the opposite direction. Instead of clinging, you are asked to release. Instead of hoarding, you are called to open your hands. And every time you resist, life itself seems to pry those hands open until what you thought you owned slips away. Chosen ones, this isn't punishment. It is purification. The discipline of letting go is not about making you weak. It is about teaching you where your strength truly comes from. God knows how dangerous money can be when it becomes a master, and so, in His mercy, He ensures that it never takes that role in your life. You may taste stability, but you are rarely allowed to worship it. Just when you start to lean too heavily on what you've saved, something happens to remind you that your real anchor is not in numbers, but in Him. It hurts sometimes, doesn't it? You work, you save, you finally feel like the ground beneath you is steady, and then an unexpected storm sweeps it away. Friends may look at you and shake their heads, convinced you are careless, but what they don't see is the spiritual training behind the scenes. They see subtraction. Heaven sees sanctification. Imagine water flowing into a vessel that refuses to pour out. Eventually, it overflows and becomes stagnant. It spoils because it was never meant to sit still. You, chosen one, are called to be the vessel that pours and receives again, not the container that hoards and rots. That's why God keeps teaching you the discipline of letting go. The constant cycle of release keeps you fresh, ready, and open to His next assignment. Yes, it often comes through pain. You've lost jobs you thought would last. You've seen savings accounts emptied by emergencies you didn't expect. You've invested in things that yielded little return. And though each experience cut deep, each one carried the same whisper. You are being trained to trust, not to cling. The chosen cannot afford to build their identity on temporary things, because their calling requires eternal strength. Even Abraham was tested in this. The promise of Isaac was everything, and yet God asked him to place Isaac on the altar, not because God wanted to take him away, but because God wanted to see if Abraham loved the promise more than the giver. The same is true for you. God allows your finances, your possessions, and sometimes even your comfort to be stripped away, not to destroy you, but to test whether you will still say, God, you are enough. Letting go is never easy. It stirs fear, it stirs questions, it stirs the ache of what ifs. But each time you release, something happens inside you. Pride begins to weaken. Dependence on control begins to fade. Compassion grows stronger, because when you know what it feels like to lose, you understand the pain of others more deeply. And that compassion prepares you for your future assignments, because what God entrusts to you is never meant for you alone. It's meant to flow through your hands to those He places in your path. And so, every loss reshapes you, every release refines you, Every season of letting go makes you lighter, freer, and more ready to walk into your destiny without being chained to possessions you cannot carry forward. The truth is, chosen one, sometimes God doesn't even wait for you to let go willingly. He removes things himself. Opportunities vanish, friendships dissolve, doors slam shut, and while in the moment it feels cruel, in time you see that he was protecting you from a weight you could never bear in the next season. He takes not to harm, but to free. This is why your financial journey will never mirror the world's. The world clings, but you are trained to release. The world defines strength by how much it can hold. You are defined by how quickly you can obey when told to let go. The discipline is painful, but it is also beautiful, because through it, you discover that your worth is not tied to what you possess. It is tied to who possesses you. There is freedom in that realization, freedom from fear of lack, freedom from obsession with accumulation, freedom from the endless cycle of comparison. When you learn to let go, money no longer controls you. Possessions no longer define you. Even loss no longer breaks you. You stand steady because your identity rests in something untouchable, something eternal. So if you find yourself losing what others keep, don't despair. Rejoice quietly. Even if through tears, it means you are trusted with a higher calling. It means you are being shaped for abundance that won't corrupt you. It means you are being fitted for assignments that require open hands and a willing heart. The pain of loss today is training for the weight of stewardship tomorrow. Remember this. God never asks you to release something without the intention of replacing it with something greater. The letting go is always for the sake of the lifting up. The empty hands he asks for today will one day be filled with blessings you could never have held if you hadn't released what you clung to yesterday. Letting go is not the end of your story, it is the beginning of freedom. What you release today does not vanish. It transforms into the strength, the wisdom, and the purity you will need tomorrow. So when your hands feel empty, don't grieve what left. Look forward to what is coming, because emptiness is never the final word. It is God making room for a fullness the world cannot take away. There are battles you can see, and there are battles you cannot. Most of the time, chosen ones face enemies that are hidden, enemies that do not announce themselves with obvious threats, but move quietly, weaving into your life through circumstances, patterns, and even people. And one of the most common battlegrounds for these hidden enemies is your finances. You've felt it, haven't you? That strange cycle where you're just about to gain stability and suddenly something happens that drains you again. It feels like sabotage, and in truth, it often island. One of the first hidden enemies you face is jealousy. It doesn't always show its face openly, but it exists around you more than you realize. People sense the mark of God on your life even if they cannot name it. They notice something different about you, your light, your favor, your calling, and while some admire it, others resent it. That resentment takes shape in ways you may not always see. Some people draw close to you not to support you, but to siphon what you have. They may smile in your presence but celebrate your losses in secret. This is why you've experienced sudden drains of energy and finances connected to certain relationships. What feels like a pattern of bad timing is often the manifestation of someone's hidden envy creating pressure in your life. And while jealousy may look human, its roots are always spiritual. It becomes a doorway the enemy uses to weaken your resources. Another hidden enemy is distraction. It doesn't come dressed in obvious destruction. It looks harmless, even appealing. The enemy knows he can't always take your money directly, so he tempts you into wasting it. You feel compelled to spend on things you don't need, pulled toward choices that drain you without realizing it. At first, these distractions feel small, but over time, they create leaks that rob you of the stability you long for. This is how spiritual attack disguises itself. Not always through dramatic events, but through subtle nudges that keep you from building wisely. There are also people who become unknowing agents of this battle. They don't even realize how they're being used. They show up with constant needs, endless requests, or manipulations that tug at your compassion. You give, and they take. You pour, and they never refill. You bend over backward to support them, but they disappear when you are in need. These are not just unhealthy relationships, they are spiritual drains. And unless you learn discernment, they will keep you exhausted, not only emotionally but financially. The enemy also works in cycles. Have you noticed repeating patterns in your financial story? Every time you reach a certain level of savings, something wipes it away. Every time you're on the brink of breakthrough, an unexpected crisis hits. These cycles are not coincidence. They are designed traps meant to keep you in the same loop of scarcity. Recognizing them is the first step to breaking free. Patterns that repeat are not just accidents, they are signals that something spiritual is targeting you. And sometimes the enemy you face is not outside of you, but within. Pride can become a hidden enemy, the whisper that says, "You don't need guidance, you can handle this on your own," blinds you to divine instruction. Pride keeps you from asking God before making financial moves. It convinces you that your wisdom is enough, but the chosen cannot afford to live by pride. Every financial blessing in your life is tied to humility and obedience. Pride creates openings for loss because it pushes you away from alignment. Perhaps the greatest hidden enemy, though, is fear. Fear of lack, fear of losing again, fear of never having enough. Fear whispers lies that grip your heart. It makes you cling tightly to what little you have. It convinces you to stop giving, to stop trusting, to stop expecting. And as long as fear has its hold, your finances remain fragile. Fear is not just an emotion, it is a spiritual chain. And the cruel irony is that fear attracts the very losses you are trying to avoid. But remember this, hidden enemies are never stronger than the God who covers you. The intensity of the battle over your resources is proof of how important your calling island. The enemy doesn't fight empty vessels. He fights those who carry the potential to build, to bless, to transform. That is why your finances are so often under attack, because the enemy knows that once you are aligned, your resources will not only sustain you, they will fund assignments bigger than yourself. This is why you must remain vigilant. You cannot treat your finances as ordinary. Pray over your income, your savings, your giving. Cover it with faith the same way you cover your health, your relationships, your future. Learn to pause before every decision and ask, is this alignment or is this attack? When you notice cycles, don't just react with frustration, discern their origin. Ask yourself who or what is always present when the leak begins. Many times the answer is hidden in plain sight. And do not forget that your victories are already written. You are not meant to live defeated by jealousy, by distraction, by hidden drains, or by fear. You are called to rise above them, to see them for what they are, and to confront them with wisdom and prayer. Every time you choose faith over fear, discernment over impulse, obedience over pride, you cut off the enemy's access to your resources. Yes, the attacks are real, the drains are painful, the losses feel overwhelming, but chosen ones are never defined by what they lose. You are defined by what cannot be stolen: your identity, your purpose, your covering. And as long as you walk in obedience, no hidden enemy can keep you from restoration. Loss may come, but it will not last. Attacks may rise, but they will not prosper. Cycles may try to repeat, but you are equipped to break them. So when money slips away again, don't just sigh in frustration. Ask the deeper question: who or what is standing in the shadows? What pattern is the enemy trying to keep alive? What fear is he trying to plant in me? And when you find the answer, confront it with truth, break it with prayer, replace it with trust. Because in the end, hidden enemies are powerless against revealed light. And you, chosen one, were never meant to live in the dark. Wealth. It is a word that carries weight, yet for most of the world it is defined in ways that never last. People count their worth by what sits in their bank accounts, by the size of their homes, by the glitter of their possessions. But chosen ones are called to see beyond this shallow definition, because for you, wealth is not measured by numbers on a screen or coins in a hand. Wealth is a deeper current, one that flows beneath the surface of what the world can see. And until you redefine wealth in your own life, you will always misinterpret the meaning of loss. Think about this. A man can have millions and yet feel empty every night. A woman can have gold and silver but wake up with no peace in her spirit. Their riches impress the world but leave their souls bankrupt. Meanwhile, you may feel the sting of financial leakage, yet carry treasures they cannot imagine. You hold prophetic dreams that guide you, encounters that shift your destiny, angelic whispers that strengthen you when logic fails. These are currencies the world cannot buy, and they are often given to you in seasons when your natural pockets feel empty. True wealth is wisdom, the kind of wisdom that arrives when God speaks in the quiet hours and redirects your steps away from disaster. It is wisdom that interprets a dream before a trap has time to spring. It is wisdom that helps you recognize when an opportunity is really a distraction. Without it, money becomes a curse, but with it, even lack becomes a classroom. That is wealth. True wealth is faith. Faith that endures when accounts are thin and bills stack high. Faith that chooses to believe provision is on the way even when nothing looks possible. Faith that holds steady when others panic. Faith is the currency of heaven, and it buys you peace in storms money could never calm. True wealth is favor. Favor is when doors open for you that education, connections, and effort could not touch. Favor is when someone blesses you without knowing why, when opportunities arrive at the exact right moment, when provision comes through channels you never expected. You can't purchase favor. You can only walk in alignment until heaven releases it. True wealth is identity. To know who you are in God is to hold something no thief can take. When others define themselves by what they own, you define yourself by what heaven wrote about you before you were born. That identity is tested, yes, but it is also protected. It carries you when money fails, and it reminds you that your story is larger than this present moment. And yet, because you carry this kind of wealth, money often leaves your hands quickly. It isn't because you are cursed, it's because God will not let you mistake money for your source. He keeps drawing your attention back to the wealth already within you. Each time you experience financial shaking, it is an invitation to see wealth differently, to stop clinging to paper and start leaning on peace, to stop counting coins and start counting revelations, to stop envying others and start remembering what you already carry. But don't misunderstand. God is not against money. He provides it because you need it, but He refuses to let it define you. That is why He allows it to pass through your hands more quickly than others. He is training you to see it as a tool, not a master. Money was never meant to own you. It was meant to serve you as you serve Him. So the next time you look at your life and feel poor because of what you've lost, pause. Remember the unseen treasures you've been given. Remember the times a dream protected you. Remember the encounters that taught you trust. Remember the seasons when provision arrived at the very last moment, and you knew it could only have been heaven. Each of those moments is proof that your wealth is not gone. It has simply taken another form. The world will not understand this. They will look at you and judge by what they see. They will call you unstable, unlucky, even irresponsible. But heaven calls you rich in ways that outlast rust, theft, and time. And when the moment comes for restoration to manifest in visible ways, they will finally see that what you lost was never wasted. Every dollar that slipped away was a seed in unseen soil, and seeds always grow when the season turns. For now, don't despise the seasons of lack. They are training grounds. They are where you learn that wealth is not money, but maturity. Not accumulation, but alignment. Not possessions, but peace. These lessons are what prepare you for the day when God releases abundance into your hands, because when it comes, it won't crush you. You'll know how to carry it without losing yourself. And maybe that is the greatest wealth of all, to stand in a world that bows to money and refuse to be its servant. To be able to say, I know who I am even when I have nothing, and to smile with peace that riches cannot purchase. To endure seasons of emptiness and still know you are overflowing with treasures unseen. So when the world asks, how much are you worth? Don't point to numbers. Point to the wisdom you've gained through loss, the faith you've grown in storms, the favor that has carried you through impossible doors, the identity that cannot be erased. That is your wealth. That is what sets you apart. That is what proves that even when your hands feel light, your spirit is heavy with treasures the world could never measure. And here's where you can rest. The day will come when the spiritual wealth you carry aligns with visible abundance. Heaven will not withhold what you need forever. But when that moment comes, you will not mistake the blessing for the source. You will know the difference. You will hold money lightly because your heart is already full. You will walk in abundance without fear because you learned to see wealth long before the world saw it in you. Your story then is not one of poverty, but of perspective, not of lack, but of learning, not of curses, but of clarity. And every time money leaves you, it is simply God reminding you to lift your eyes higher, because wealth is not what you hold. Wealth is what holds you. Now that you've seen why money seems to slip through your hands, the question becomes, what can you do? Not in the sense of chasing quick fixes or following worldly formulas, but in the sense of aligning your financial life with your spiritual destiny. Because for chosen ones, The way you handle money cannot look like the way the world does. Your finances are not only about survival, they are about stewardship, obedience, and alignment. And until you begin to handle money with the same reverence you handle revelation, the same cycles will repeat. The first shift begins with prayerful awareness. You cannot afford to move blindly when it comes to money. Each decision, whether to spend, to save, or to give, carries spiritual weight. The world tells people to follow numbers, trends, and logic, but you are trained to follow guidance. That small tug in your heart, that hesitation before a purchase, that dream you dismissed too quickly, those are not coincidences. They are messages. Ignoring them often leads to financial leakage. Paying attention to them keeps you in alignment. Stewardship is another layer. Being a vessel does not mean being careless. To manage resources well is not the same as clinging to them. It means knowing the difference between what is necessary and what is waste, between who is your assignment and who is your distraction. Many chosen ones fall into traps because they give out of impulse rather than instruction. And while your compassion is a gift, it must be guided. God never asked you to be drained by those who only take back. He asked you to be a steward managing his resources with wisdom, boundaries, and discernment. You must also learn to obey prophetic instruction. There will be times when your dreams warn you of financial danger or point you toward unexpected provision. If you dismiss those moments, you walk into battles unprepared. But when you obey, even if it doesn't make sense at the time, you unlock protection. Maybe you dreamt of someone taking your wallet, and the next week that very person comes asking for money. If you remember the dream, you'll pause and recognize the warning. Or perhaps you dreamt of blessing someone you didn't expect, and later feel the nudge to give. Obedience in those small moments aligns your finances with divine direction in ways logic never could. Guarding your inner world is also critical. What you allow into your mind and spirit directly affects your financial flow. Fear-based messages about scarcity, greed-filled teachings about wealth, constant comparison with others, these are seeds the enemy plants through what you consume. They corrode your peace and skew your perception. But when you fill your spirit with truth, wisdom, and encouragement, you see clearly. You make decisions with discernment. You recognize traps before they form. Protecting your gates isn't just about holiness, it's about financial stability. Generosity is another key. Even in lack, you will sometimes feel the nudge to give. This doesn't mean reckless giving. It means purposeful giving. Each time you release in obedience, you break the grip of fear and prove that money doesn't own you. Generosity keeps you in the flow of heaven's economy. What leaves your hand in faith will always return in ways you cannot predict. Some of the most profound angelic encounters, some of the deepest visitations of provision, come in response to generosity given from a place of obedience. But what if you've noticed that no matter what you do, the same cycle repeats? You save, it disappears. You earn more, an unexpected expense wipes it away. These patterns are not just bad luck, they are spiritual strongholds. And cycles cannot be broken by budgeting alone. They require spiritual intervention. This is why fasting, prayer, and declaring freedom over your finances matter. It is not just about the physical money, it is about breaking agreements, patterns, and generational curses that have been running in your bloodline for years. What you confront in the spirit will release freedom in the natural. Another step is learning contentment. The world pushes people to constantly chase more wealth, more possessions, more comfort. But chosen ones are trained differently. You are called to simplicity. When you learn to be content in every season, whether you have plenty or little, you rob the enemy of one of his greatest weapons, desperation. Contentment keeps you stable when others crumble. It grounds you in peace, even in lack. And ironically, when you stop chasing, you begin to attract, because heaven trusts those who are not controlled by greed. Community also matters. Many chosen ones walk alone, believing their struggles are too strange for others to understand. But isolation is dangerous. You need people around you who are spiritually awake, who can confirm what you sense, encourage you when you feel weak, and protect you from deception. Alone, you may misinterpret the signals. Together, you gain strength and clarity. The chosen journey is heavy, but it was never meant to be carried in solitude. And finally, there is trust. At the root of everything, trust is what sustains you. Trust that God is your source, not the job, not the government, not even your own effort. Trust that every loss has purpose, every delay has meaning, Every restoration is already written. Trust that your life is not spiraling out of control. It is under divine management. When you trust, fear loosens its grip. When you trust, peace settles in. When you trust, you discover that even in emptiness, you are never truly lacking. These are not optional practices, they are lifelines. Without them, you will keep bleeding resources without understanding why. With them, you step into a rhythm where money may still pass through your hands quickly, but it will always return, because it is no longer random, it is aligned. You will stop fearing loss because you will see the lesson within it. You will stop envying others because you will understand your story is training you for greater stewardship. You will stop asking, "Why me?" and begin asking, "What is this shaping in me?" And when you live this way, something shifts. Money stops being your burden and becomes your servant. Finances stop being your fear and become your testimony. You no longer measure your worth by numbers, but by obedience. You no longer panic at loss because you know it is making room for restoration. You no longer live in cycles of despair, but in cycles of growth. So if you are weary of watching money slip away, begin today. Pray over your decisions, guard your spirit, obey the dreams, set boundaries, break the cycles, practice contentment. Stay connected, and above all, trust with everything you have. Because chosen one, the money that leaves quickly is not your end, it is your training. And when you are trained, nothing can stop the abundance heaven intends to release into your life. Everything you have walked through so far has been training. But now we must talk about the truth that many chosen ones struggle to accept. Every financial battle you face has less to do with money itself and more to do with what it is shaping in your heart. What looks like subtraction is often refinement. What feels like loss is often God carving out the space in you for something bigger. It's not just about bills, savings, or security. It's about your destiny being tested, purified, and prepared. There are seasons when you ask, "Why does everything I hold seem to vanish?" Yet if you look closely, you will see that each season carried lessons you could not have learned any other way. When money slipped away through unexpected circumstances, you learned patience. When resources disappeared despite your careful planning, you learned humility. When doors closed suddenly, you learned to lean not on systems, but on God's timing. And when generosity emptied your hands, you learned that heaven always restores what was released in obedience. This is the paradox of the chosen one. What looks like weakness in the natural becomes strength in the spirit. Ordinary people may never understand it. They hold tightly to money as if it guarantees their future. They rely on savings accounts, investments, and safety nets, and they laugh at those who can't seem to hold wealth the same way. But what they don't realize is that your lack has been building in you a strength no amount of money could buy. Each season of emptiness has been chiseling away your fear of tomorrow. Each moment of loss has been sharpening your ability to hear God's voice over the noise. And when the day comes for abundance, you will carry it without being corrupted, because you already know what it means to live without it. Your prophetic dreams have been part of this shaping process all along. They were never meaningless. When you saw yourself giving away what you needed, it was heaven training your spirit to hold loosely. When you dreamt of empty wallets or falling coins, it was preparation for storms that would demand deeper trust. And when you dreamt of treasure or golden coins placed in your hands, it was the promise that the story of lack would not be your final chapter. Each dream has been an echo of the truth. Your finances are not random, they are part of your spiritual journey. Sometimes it feels unfair. You see people who never seek God prospering with ease, while you, who pray, who sacrifice, who try to obey, wrestle with loss after loss. But chosen one, don't be deceived by appearances. Those who build without God build on sand, and sand always shifts. What looks like security for them is fragile. What looks like instability for you is training. Heaven is building your foundation in ways unseen, and foundations built in fire always last. Even the delays carry meaning. How many times have you been on the verge of a financial breakthrough, only to watch it stall or disappear? In those moments, you felt abandoned, but in truth, you were being tested. God was watching how you responded when the promise lingered just beyond reach. Would you complain and doubt, or would you remain faithful? Your response in lack determines your ability to carry abundance. Delay is not denial, it is refinement. And think about the strange provision you've seen before. The rent paid at the last moment, the gift arriving out of nowhere, the opportunity that came through an unexpected connection. These weren't random rescues. They were proof that heaven has always been tracking your steps. Provision has always been written into your journey, not as a reward for perfection, but as a reminder that you are never abandoned. The losses never meant God left you. They meant He was teaching you that His presence is greater than possessions. Chosen one, every financial battle has been a mirror that reflects not your weakness, but your growth. Each empty hand revealed how much trust you carried. Each season of lack revealed how much pride had to die. Each unexpected gift revealed how closely heaven walks with you. Your story has never been about money. It has always been about transformation. So when the next storm comes, don't panic the way you once did. Don't see the loss as proof of failure. See it as another step in your refining. Ask yourself, what is heaven building in me right now? What fear is being broken? What pride is being stripped? What trust is being deepened? When you ask those questions, loss stops being a curse and becomes a classroom. And here is the mystery. God is not only training you for your own future, He is training you for others. One day, the wisdom you've gained from your struggles will become guidance for someone else. One day, the compassion born from your losses will become provision for those in need. One day, the strength you've gained from cycles of letting go will make you a steward over resources that fund assignments greater than your own life. Your story is bigger than you. That is why the battles have been so intense. Every time money slipped away, you thought you were being emptied. In truth, you were being filled with wisdom, endurance, and faith. Every time you felt the sting of lack, you thought you were being punished. In truth, you were being purified. Every cycle that left you frustrated was actually God carving out the space in your spirit for the abundance that is coming. And when it comes, you will know how to carry it. You will hold it lightly. You will release it freely. And you will never again confuse the blessing with the source. Loss is not the end of your story, it is the beginning of clarity. What you've endured has been shaping you into someone wealth cannot corrupt, fear cannot control, and enemies cannot break. And when the season of restoration arrives, you will understand why every dollar lost was worth the wisdom gained. So do not despise the path you've walked. Every crack in your finances has been a doorway for God's light to shine through. Every empty hand has been proof that heaven can still fill you. Every delay has been a hidden lesson in trust. And one day soon, you will see that nothing was wasted. You may feel poor in the eyes of the world, but heaven already calls you rich. And when heaven names you rich, no loss can erase it. There are moments when chosen ones wonder if they are trapped in an endless loop. Money arrives, then vanishes, doors open, then slam shut, opportunities rise, then dissolve like smoke. It feels unfair, like you are caught in a game designed to keep you exhausted. But look closer. The rhythm of your financial story is not chaos, it is choreography. It may feel random, but heaven has been arranging even the seasons of loss with purpose. Every time resources slipped away, a hidden encounter was shaping your destiny. You see, your finances are not governed by earthly systems alone. They are tethered to your calling. That's why nothing about your story looks normal. For someone else, a job is just a paycheck. For you, it is a classroom where trust is tested. For someone else, an unexpected bill is just bad luck. For you, it is a reminder that your security must rest on God, not on numbers. For someone else, a delayed payment is an inconvenience. For you, it is an encounter meant to refine your patience and strip away fear. Think of the encounters you've already lived through. That moment when a dream told you to hold back on a decision, and later you realized it saved you from loss. That moment when an angelic presence reassured you that provision would come, and somehow it did at the very last moment. That moment when a door closed, and you only understood months later that it was protection, not rejection. These are not coincidences. They are divine interruptions designed to shape you into someone who cannot be ruled by money. There were also encounters of correction, times when you made a choice against the quiet nudge in your spirit and suffered loss as a result. At first, the pain stung, but in hindsight, you realized that even the loss was a teacher. God wasn't punishing you, He was sharpening your ears. The sting of ignoring His guidance became the very reason you learned to listen more closely the next time. Correction is a form of love, and though it costs you in the moment, it saves you in the long run. And then there are encounters of abundance. Times when money appeared from unexpected places, when opportunities opened without effort, when provision fell into your lap even when you didn't ask. These encounters are reminders. They whisper, "You are seen, you are not forgotten." Provision is still written into your story. Without them, you would lose hope. With them, you learn that heaven has always been watching, always balancing the scales, always providing in ways you could never arrange on your own. But perhaps the most difficult encounters are the ones that come in the form of delay. The promotion that seemed certain but didn't come through, the investment that almost bore fruit but collapsed at the last moment, the season where you worked harder than ever and yet saw little return. These delays test you in ways abundance never could. They expose impatience, they burn away pride, they stretch your faith until it feels thin. Yet in the stretching, something unshakable is built, because when you learn to trust God in delay, you gain a strength that no sudden blessing could ever give. Chosen ones must also understand that their encounters with money are not only for themselves. You are being prepared to steward resources for others. Your journey through lack is meant to build compassion so that when abundance comes, you will not forget those still walking the path you once walked. Your struggles become seeds of empathy. Your endurance becomes guidance for others. The weight you carry now will one day translate into provision for those who need what your obedience can release. So do not despise the encounters that frustrate you. Each one carries hidden treasure. Loss teaches detachment. Delay teaches patience. Correction teaches discernment. Abundance teaches gratitude. And every single encounter teaches you trust. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is meaningless. Each event is shaping you for a destiny where money will no longer be your master but your servant. And when you see this truth, something shifts inside of you. You stop panicking at every financial shake. You stop comparing your journey to others. You stop believing the lie that your struggles mean you are cursed. Instead, you begin to see yourself as a vessel being prepared, a life being refined, a heart being shaped for greater things. Money will come and go, but the lessons remain. And those lessons are far more valuable than anything that ever slipped away. So if you are in a season where everything feels unstable, breathe. You are not failing, you are being formed. The very instability that makes you anxious today will be the strength you lean on tomorrow. The very losses that break your heart now will become the wisdom you one day use to bless others. Your encounters are not random. They are divine appointments, and each one carries a piece of the blueprint for your destiny. And when the day comes for restoration, you will understand why the road was so hard. You will see that every loss was building endurance, every delay was building character, every unexpected provision was building faith. And when all of it comes together, you will realize you were never being emptied, you were being prepared. The truth is, chosen one, you are not in financial chaos, you are in divine training. And every encounter, whether painful or joyful, is heaven's way of ensuring that when abundance finally arrives, you will know how to carry it with grace, with humility, and with wisdom. So the next time you feel the sting of loss or the frustration of delay, remember this: you are not being punished, you are being trusted. Trusted to learn lessons others never will. Trusted to carry weight others could not bear. Trusted to see money not as your master, but as your servant. And when you emerge from this training, the world will wonder how you stand so steady. They will not know the cost of your encounters, but you will. And you will smile, because you will know that every battle was worth it. You are not defined by what left your hands. You are defined by what heaven placed in your spirit. And that, chosen one, is a wealth no loss can erase. The discipline of letting go and the encounters that shape you are only part of the journey. Another reality chosen ones face is the constant testing of priorities. It often feels as though you are being pushed into situations where money slips away simply to see what remains when it's gone. And that is not far from the truth, because for you, chosen one, money is never just about provision. It is about proving what has your heart. There are times when God allows you to gain resources, but just as quickly, He asks you to release them. You may feel as if you're back at square one, but heaven never sees it that way. Each release is a test. Each loss is a refining. Every time you are faced with the decision to cling or to trust, you reveal the condition of your heart. This is why chosen ones experience cycles of plenty and lack, not because God enjoys watching you struggle, but because He is constantly purifying your motives. Think of how many times you thought, If I could just have this much money, I would finally feel secure. And then, when you reach that point, it disappeared. Why? Because God will not allow your sense of safety to come from numbers. He knows the danger of misplaced trust. If money becomes your anchor, it becomes your idol, and idols are always shattered for your sake. Your losses, then, are not always about attack or even correction. They are about training your spirit to remain faithful in little and humble in much. They are about revealing whether your loyalty lies in the gift or the giver. They are about shaping you into someone who can be entrusted with abundance without bowing to it. But the testing doesn't stop with loss. It also appears in the form of people. Some are sent to sharpen you, others to drain you, and a few to test your ability to discern the difference. How many times have you poured into someone financially, only to feel empty afterward? Those moments were not wasted. They were lessons teaching you that generosity must be led by the Spirit, not driven by guilt or manipulation. You were never meant to say yes to everyone, you were meant to say yes to God. And sometimes His answer is no, even when your heart aches to give. And then there are tests of stewardship, seasons where you are asked to manage very little, but with great faithfulness. A small income, a simple opportunity, a modest increase. And while the world would see these things as insignificant, heaven sees them as exams. If you can handle the little with discipline, you will be entrusted with much. But if you are careless with the little, why would heaven send more? Stewardship is not about the size of the resource, it is about the faithfulness of the vessel. This is why money often flows through you like water, not to torment you, but to train you. Every cycle strips away pride, dismantles fear, and shapes you into someone who cannot be bought by wealth or broken by loss. And once you grasp this truth, your entire perspective shifts. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and you start asking, "What is this shaping in me?" That question changes everything, because when you see loss as training, you stop resenting it. When you see delay as testing, you stop panicking. When you see unexpected provision as confirmation, you stop doubting. Suddenly, the patterns that once discouraged you become proof that heaven is still working. You realize you are not cursed, you are chosen. And chosen ones are tested not because they are forgotten, but because they are trusted. Your priorities are being refined in every season. In lack, you are asked, "Will you still trust me?" In plenty, you are asked, "Will you still serve me?" In giving, you are asked, "Will you release without fear?" And in receiving, you are asked, "Will you remain humble?" Every stage of your financial journey is a question, and your responses determine how much more you can carry in the future. So when you feel the sting of another financial setback, pause before you despair. Ask yourself what this moment is demanding of you. Is it faith? Is it humility? Is it detachment? Is it discernment? There is always a lesson embedded in the loss, always a treasure hidden in the trial. If you can recognize it, you will find yourself growing richer even when your hands feel empty. And this is the mystery. Chosen ones are rarely rich in the ways the world measures, but they are always being enriched in ways that last. Wisdom becomes your currency, faith becomes your foundation, favor becomes your network, identity becomes your security. These are treasures the world cannot steal, and they are the very reason you are tested so often. God is not trying to take from you, He is building you into someone who cannot be shaken, someone who can be trusted, someone who can walk in abundance without losing sight of the one who gave it. So do not despise the tests. Do not despise the seasons of letting go. They are not meant to destroy you, they are meant to reveal you. Each cycle of loss, each moment of emptiness, each unexpected expense is carving away the parts of you that could not survive where you are going. What feels like subtraction is actually addition in disguise. What feels like weakness is strength being built. What feels like lack is faith being multiplied. And here is where your heart can rest. Every test has an expiration date. God will not keep you in training forever. When He sees that your priorities have been refined, when He knows you will not bow to wealth or crumble in lack, He will release the abundance already written in your destiny. And when it comes, you will carry it differently. You will hold it lightly. You will release it freely. And you will remember every lesson carved into your spirit along the way. So if your finances feel unstable, do not mistake it for failure. It is not failure, it is fire. And fire never comes to destroy gold, it comes to reveal it. For so long you have been told that money defines worth, that possessions prove stability, that the measure of a person can be weighed in gold, silver, or digits in an account. But chosen ones must learn to see what others cannot. Wealth is more than money. It always has been, and it always will be. If you measure yourself by the world's scale, you will always feel behind. But if you learn to measure by heaven's scale, you will realize you have been rich all along. Look at your journey. Think of the times you were at your lowest financially, yet peace found you in the middle of the storm. That peace was not something you bought. It was a gift money could never provide. It was wealth hidden in your spirit. Think of the doors that opened for you without explanation, opportunities that appeared at the exact right time. That was not luck, it was favor, and favor is a currency the world cannot purchase. Think of the prophetic dreams that warned you, guided you, or encouraged you in dark moments. Those dreams were deposits of wisdom, treasures of revelation meant to steer your path. And think of the faith that rose up in you when everything else was gone, the faith that whispered, "I will endure this too." That faith is wealth greater than rubies. The truth is, many people who appear wealthy are impoverished in the places that matter most. They walk with heavy accounts but hollow spirits. They hold treasures but sleep with torment. They shine outwardly but crumble inwardly. What use is gold if you have no peace? What use is silver if you have no purpose? What use is wealth if you have no wisdom to carry it? This is why chosen ones are stripped of worldly illusions, so they never mistake possessions for fulfillment. God allows you to endure seasons of financial shaking so that your definition of wealth changes. At first, you grieve what left, but over time, you begin to recognize what remained. You lost money, but you kept peace. You lost opportunities, but you kept your calling. You lost the comfort of stability, but you gained the courage of endurance. And once you learn to treasure what cannot be stolen, the enemy loses his greatest weapon against you. It is a strange paradox. While others chase numbers, you are trained to chase wisdom. While others hoard possessions, you are trained to release them. While others boast in what they own, you are taught to boast in who owns you. The world may not understand, but heaven smiles, because this kind of wealth cannot rust, cannot rot, cannot be stolen. It is eternal. Even restoration itself is tied to this truth. When God restores, He does not simply give you back what was lost. He gives you more wisdom, more discernment, more influence, more faith. Sometimes the restoration is material, yes, but often it arrives in ways invisible to the eye but undeniable to the spirit. The confidence you carry after surviving lack is wealth. The discernment you hold after enduring loss is wealth. The compassion you show after walking through emptiness is wealth. And these treasures, though unseen, are the foundation upon which true abundance will one day rest. So stop calling yourself broke just because your account looks empty. Stop naming yourself poor because you cannot hold on to money the way others do. Poverty is not measured in possessions, it is measured in perspective. And you, chosen one, have been given a perspective that reveals wealth others cannot even recognize. You see value where they see waste. You see meaning where they see randomness. You see training where they see punishment. That is wealth. And here is the beauty. When God finally aligns the spiritual wealth you already carry with material abundance, you will not be corrupted by it. You will not worship it. You will not cling to it in fear. You will simply use it as the tool it was always meant to be, because by then, you will know the truth. Money is a servant, not a master, a resource, not a source, a tool, not an identity. And because you have learned this, you will walk in abundance with freedom, never again enslaved by the lie that money defines you. The world will look at you in that season and wonder how you carry yourself with such peace, such humility, such generosity. They will not understand that the years of loss prepared you for that moment. They will not know the tears you cried when your hands were empty. They will not see the prayers whispered in the dark when you thought you could not endure another setback. But you will know, and you will smile, because you will realize that the emptiness was never wasted. It was making room for a fullness that no thief could take and no storm could shake. So, if today you feel weary, if your hands feel light and your heart feels heavy, remember this. You are not lacking. You are being trained to see differently. You are being purified so that when abundance arrives, it will not own you. You are being prepared to hold riches that the world cannot measure. Peace, wisdom, favor, faith, these are already yours, and they are worth more than all the treasures the world could ever place in your hands. Your journey has been long, Your tests have been sharp, your losses have been real. But through it all, heaven has been enriching you in ways the world cannot perceive. You are wealthier than you realize. And the day will come when the world will finally see it, but by then you won't need their recognition. You'll already know. Because wealth is not what you hold, it is what holds you. And you, chosen one, are held by something far greater than money. You have walked through seasons of shaking, loss, delay, and strange provision. You have questioned yourself, questioned God, and wondered if you would ever see stability. And yet, through it all, something has remained. You are still here, you are still listening, you are still searching for the meaning behind the battles you face. That in itself is proof you are chosen. Because if this were only about money, you would have given up long ago. But something in you knows this is bigger than finances. This is about destiny. By now you can see that your financial battles have never been ordinary. Every loss was an echo of identity. Every leak was a signal of warfare. Every delay was a test of trust. And every provision, no matter how small, was a reminder that heaven has always been watching over you. The instability was never random, it was divine design. God was shaping you for something far greater than comfort. He was teaching you to see through the illusions of this world and to measure wealth by heaven's scale, not earth's. Yes, it hurt. The empty hands, the missed opportunities, the judgment from others who never understood. But each of those moments refined you. They burned away fear, pride, and dependence on systems. They left you with a heart that knows how to stand in storms, a spirit that recognizes heaven's voice, and a faith that refuses to die no matter how many times money slips away. That is treasure. That is unshakable wealth. And now, chosen one, you must understand this final truth. Everything you have endured has been preparation. You were never being punished, you were being prepared. Prepared for a season when resources will flow through you to bless others. Prepared for assignments that require a vessel who cannot be corrupted by wealth. Prepared for a level of abundance that demands maturity, wisdom, and trust. The losses were never random. They were rehearsals for responsibility. God has not forgotten what you lost. Every dollar, every tear, every sleepless night, it has all been recorded. Heaven does not overlook the sacrifices of the chosen. What looked like subtraction was seed planted in hidden soil, and seed always grows in its appointed time. Restoration is not just possible, it is promised. And when it comes, it will not trickle, it will overflow. Because you are not just being restored for yourself, you are being restored for your mission. But here is the key. When that restoration comes, you will not see it the way you once did. You will not cling to it in fear. You will not worship it in pride. You will hold it with open hands, knowing it was never yours to begin with. You will bless others freely because you know the cycle, what leaves in obedience always returns in abundance. You will manage it with wisdom because you remember what it felt like to live without it. You will give without hesitation because you understand that money was never the source, God was. And that is why you are different. That is why your journey looked so hard, why your battles were so sharp, why your losses felt so relentless. It was because heaven trusted you with training others could not endure. And when you rise, you will rise not as someone who merely survived financial storms, but as someone who was refined by them. So take heart. Every leak was for your strengthening. Every empty season was for your preparation. Every strange encounter was for your alignment. And every delay was for your maturity. You were never behind, you were being built. And now you stand at the edge of a new chapter, one where all the lessons you learned will finally come together. Remember this as you move forward. Your financial story is spiritual first, natural second. You will always see more clearly than others because you were trained to look deeper. You will always carry peace others cannot explain because you were trained in storms. And you will always walk with wisdom others envy because you were trained in loss. That is your inheritance. That is your identity. That is your wealth. And when the day comes, and you look back at all the tears, the prayers, the nights of wondering if you would make it, you will finally understand. None of it was wasted. None of it was meaningless. Every moment was building the vessel God designed you to be. So, lift your head. You are not cursed. You are not forgotten. You are not broken. You are chosen. And chosen ones do not live defined by loss, they live defined by restoration. The world may never understand your journey, but heaven does, and heaven has already written your victory.